Welcome back to the reading of the memoir Rebirth. I'm reading chapter 14. If you're just happening onto this right now, you can go back to the beginning. I'm reading from the very beginning, chapter by chapter, to keep it bite-sized. This is part of my editing process to read out loud. So if you like the story, please like and share it so that it reaches people who are meant to hear it. If you want to know when the next chapter drops, make sure to subscribe so that you stay in the loop. And if you're thinking about writing your story, you're not quite sure where to start, or you've written and you're now in the editing or launch process, then follow along, make notes, put in the comments where you're at, and I'd love to help you on your journey as well. So I do this live reading because it helps me to get the book formatted properly, to make sure that it's flowing, and it helps me get people listening in because not everyone has time to read. So that is a helpful tip for you if you're at this stage. So again, I'm reading chapter 14 now, and it's entitled Sleep Deprivation. The furniture in the room blurred. My eyelids drifted shut, and my mind wandered until a nurse startled me awake, handing me a translucent orange plastic bottle filled with 2 kinds of pills. How do I know if I need these? I asked, reaching for them. It's standard procedure to take them both, just in case, she replied. Once the epidural wears off, you're likely to feel pain, and typically, after giving birth, women get constipated, which can cause complications. If you have to push, it could further tear the perineum. I nodded, taking the bottle, but I didn't take either pill. I hadn't torn during the birth, and Mauro's mom had been making me soups with a medley of greens from her garden, which were notoriously regulating. Besides, I hadn't been eating much the past 2 days. The hospital food was unappealing, and Mauro ended up eating most of my tray. I stuck to soups and juices. What I needed most wasn't painkillers or laxatives, but sleep. Deep, uninterrupted rest. I didn't think I had the mental or physical resources to survive another day like the last. At that point, a private room felt like salvation. Can you ask about the possibility of a private room? I asked Mauro. He nodded and left. While he was gone, I went to the bathroom again. I was still bleeding, but no more than during a regular period. It seemed normal. I filled the little plastic bottle with water, sat down and squeezed it to create a stream strong enough to wash away the blood and cleanse the stitches, a ritual. Evelyn had been surprised after the birth to see that my perineum hadn't torn, despite all the interventions. So surprised, in fact, she asked if she could take a closer look, just to be sure. All she found were minor scratches on the labia, likely caused by the repeated insertion of gloved hands, first to check the baby's position, then to retrieve the torn placenta. The scratches are very minor, she told me, but I'm concerned they might heal together, closing the labia. I think it would be wise to add a few stitches as a precautionary measure. As always, she was geeking out, eyes bright, eager to apply her knowledge. Beneath that was sincere care. I felt a surge of gratitude for her presence, her gentle competence. After squeezing out the last of the water, I set the bottle on the vanity, changed the soiled mesh diaper for a clean one, and sighed. I would have given anything for a bath. I longed for water to wash away all the physical and emotional residue and begin again fresh. As I stepped out of the bathroom, the OBGYN entered the room as unexpectedly as the first time. How are you feeling? She asked. And how is the bleeding? Her face was laced with concern, and I still didn't know what to make of that question. How is the bleeding supposed to be? I think it's fine, I answered, unsure. It seems normal. She smiled softly and laid her hand gently on my arm. Her touch was warm and soothing, but concern lingered in her eyes. Then she pursed her lips, as if trying to prevent the words she wanted to express from escaping. I wanted to ask, but I was too tired and confused to find the words. Whatever it was, she wasn't ready to say it. She left without explanation, leaving me to puzzle over her visit. Back in bed, I was nursing Rocco when Mauro returned, beaming. We can move to a private room later this afternoon, he announced proudly. Relief washed over me at the thought of rest and quiet. We sat together on the bed, watching our baby girl. She stretched, yawned, made faces in her sleep. Each movement looked like protest, her body fighting to stay in that dreamy state. I wished I could follow her there. We still hadn't named her. I'd had names in mind for both a boy and a girl before she was born, but now I wanted to leave the girl name for my sister-in-law, who was due just weeks after me. We brainstormed, mixing our mother's names, Diane and Palmyra, to form Mira Ann. We liked it, but it felt more like a middle name. Then came an unexpected idea, Evie. Evelyn. The name tumbled from my mouth as if it had been waiting there all along. It just fit. Mauro's face lit up. We both smiled. This was it. But I wanted to know more. A name carried weight, and I needed to understand its roots. Can you look up the meaning? I asked. This was before phones had easy access to web pages. Mine had a tiny screen, practically useless for searching. I didn't even have it with me. I'll go shower and look it up, Mauro said. He kissed me and left the room again. When he returned a few hours later, he was glowing, his smile triumphant, carrying 4 printed pages. The name Evelyn has a lengthy history and holds a lot of meaning, he said, reading aloud carefully. It's associated with beauty, grace, and elegance, invoking images of sophistication and charm. I nodded, soaking in each word as he read. A deep inner knowing washed over me. This was the right name. We could call her Evie for short, I said. Mauro rolled his eyes. She's not a car. No, I smiled, but she's here to make an impact. We both laughed. GM's first electric vehicle, the EV, had only been available for lease before being recalled and destroyed, sparking protest and creating a movement. I liked the energy of that legacy and drifted off to sleep, holding on to that thought. At some point, Mauro mentioned he'd step out to make phone calls. Not long after, Evelyn stirred and started crying. I sat up to nurse her when a nurse entered the room in a huff. Your private room is ready, she said flatly, standing at the foot of the bed. I met her eyes and smiled, hoping she'd notice I was feeding the baby, and quietly stepped back out. She didn't move. You need to move right now, she barked, breaking the silence stare down. I kept smiling, scanning her face for any trace of softness, but there was none. Mauro's out, but he should be back any minute, I said, hoping to buy a few minutes to breastfeed. No, she snapped. You need to move now, or you'll lose the room. I'm just asking for 5 minutes, I said, surprised by her urgency. I wanted to finish nursing and didn't want to be rushed. I also didn't want Mauro to come back and find the room empty. It wasn't an outrageous request. She stood stiffly, fists on hips, eyes locked on me. After a deep breath, she nodded once and left. I checked the clock. But 2 minutes later, she returned. Okay, you need to move now. Her tone was sharper, louder. I looked at the clock above her head. It's only been 2 minutes. Doesn't matter, you need to go. You promised me 5 minutes, I said, keeping my tone as calm as I could. You need to move. I have a lot of bags, I said, pointing. I'll help, she snapped, gesturing to the trolley she'd brought. I'd rather wait for Mauro, I told her again. He'll find you, she said. I'm just asking for 5 minutes, I repeated, my voice firm but steady, to finish breastfeeding and wait for Mauro. I don't think I'm asking too much. She left, clearly fuming. Mauro walked in moments later, smirking as usual. I shook my head. You wouldn't believe what just happened, I told him. It was a small thing, really, but another drop in an already overflowing cup. So let's go, he said, still grinning as he picked up our bags. The nurse reappeared, pushing a wheelchair. I stood up with Evelyn in my arms and sat down. At least I could keep nursing as we moved. That was something. She wheeled me into a brightly lit hallway, around a corner, and into a private room that felt more like a hotel than a hospital. There's enough space to dance, I said aloud, smiling at the nurse. She didn't smile back. She left without a word, and the door closed behind her, cutting off the hallway chaos and enveloping the room in peaceful silence. The tension in my body began to melt. For the first time in days, I felt my energy expand and the tension in my head ease. I felt supported, held, and alive. I laid Evelyn on the bed to change her diaper. Finally, we were alone. I climbed into the bed and settled in. Mauro turned off the lights, and I drifted off into a deep sleep. So deep, in fact, it felt like my mind had been hijacked. And that is the reading of chapter 14. Again, if you're not subscribed yet, please make sure to subscribe so that you know when the next chapter drops. And if you like the story, please like and share it. Leave comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what is moving through you as you read this. Give me feedback or insights. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know why you're listening in, and I want to thank you for being here and investing your time into this story. I really appreciate it and hope that it gets out into the world to the women or people who need to hear the story.